because it can really ruin your blade. All right, I said I was going to have a new sword come in, and it finally came in. It came in today, which is good, before the next storm rolls in, so we can do some test cutting with this thing. So, comes in this box right here, so no styrofoam. So let's open it up and get it out of here, okay? All right. Okay, so this is the sword right here. And we're going to go through the whole shabil. You know, we're going to get an overlook of it. We're going to get the measurements on it, the point and balance on it, and then I'm going to do some test cutting on it. Nothing just too destructive, okay? And then we'll come back. I'll come back and then we'll see if this sword is worth it. So in the box, of course, you get the sword, you know. The retention on it is in the saya is actually really good. So there's the blade. It's through hardened. Feels good in the hands. Not too front heavy. It does catch, okay? When you first initially put it in, it does catch in a certain spot, but it does lock. Look at that. So it does lock, and then you can pop it open really easily. Okay, so that's in the box, and then you get a very basic, just black sword bag. Okay, so that's it. That's all it comes in the box. So let's get an yeah, I can't speak now. An overview look on this and the details of it, and then we'll get into the cutting. Like I said, after the cutting, we'll come back. I'll talk about it a little bit more, and then when I do come back, I'll tell you what the material of the blade is supposed to be made of, and the price of this, and if it's worth it. So let's get into it. Okay, so we'll start with the handle. So it's not real Samigawa. The Fuchi is flush, which is really good. That's a nice transition. The diamonds are fairly even, but there's something that has to be noted with this. These diamonds, as you can see, can be moved around quite a bit. And then the koshra moves too. So right there, that's kind of a hit. Okay. Now, the Suba is not bad. It's a traditional crane Suba. So, nothing, you know, spectacular to write about. Like you see, there's a nice transition there. And then you got dragon Minukis. But there's the crane. And here's the crane Suba. We've all seen this before, but it's nice. There's no sharp ledges or anything on it. So that's a good thing. That's a plus. Now we get into the saya. The saya's got gold flake kind of paint in it. It's got a nice thick sagyo on it. Not, you know, the Ito wrap. It's decent. But yeah, it is actually a really nice looking saya. It's not, there's no ripples, no nothing in it. So, Looks really, really good. And the one thing everybody's really interested in all the time, the blade, which I don't blame most people. So like I said, this is a through hardened blade. So it's not differentially hardened. So yeah, it'll require more sharpening than differentially hardened. Okay, so from the end of the habaki to the end of the sword, it looks like 27.5, but it's actually 27 5/8. So it's a decent looking length of a blade. But if we go ahead and add the habaki to it, we're almost 28.5. It's a good length blade. So let's go ahead and check the POB on this. Alright, so if I put a ruler up here, point of balance is 5.5. So it's a little bit farther out than I like, but it's not too bad. Okay, so let's see how this thing handles. Not too bad. Let's try something a little bit thicker. It's pretty good. For the Edo wrap not being so great, it doesn't do too bad. I can't do too many trick cuts because it's a very windy day today. But it's got a nice edge. So let's see if I can't do this with the wind without it blowing off. That's pretty good. All right, let's try again. Hear a nice little ping coming off of this. So this edge is nice, but we're not done yet. This got ice in it, so we're gonna see how it does. Now, I don't recommend doing this because it can really ruin your blade. There's the cut. Let's check the sword. Sword is straight. No chips. No rolls in the blade. Like I said, I don't recommend cutting ice. It's not good for it. But let's go back inside and I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, so with that all done and said, is this sword worth it for what I paid for it? Okay. Again, let me show you the blade. Okay. There is literally no chip or roll on that edge. And like I said, this is a through hardened blade. And that chunk of ice was about that big around. So, plus the blade is still straight, which when you do it, if you cut ice, you gotta make sure your alignment's right on, or it's gonna bend it. Okay. This is advertised as a 1095 blade, through hardened. Okay. That's what this is supposed to be. Now, price point on this, $60. $60 for this. The handle actually is nice. It has a good length to it, so I can really index on it. The only drawback is this eater wrap sucks, and this kosher back here is loose. You literally could replace that handle. Granted, you shouldn't have to, for like $25, $30. You know, if you don't want nothing too fancy. But that's even with real Samiga and a tight eater wrap. I have bought some, and they've held up great. SE is a really good place to look for actually sukas if you want one that's already pre-done. Or you can spend even more money and ship it out. That's up to you. But for all those who are curious, because I am too, if I can get this handle off, because sometimes they glue this stuff together. If I get this handle off, put in the comments how many of you want me to take and cut a small section of the cargo off and send it into a lab to see if this is actually 1095. Okay? 1095 blade, all right, for $60. Now I have looked online, okay, at bare blades. So you can put it all together yourself. Just for a bare blade, at through hardening, is going to cost you $100. Okay? One that's differentially hardened, $130 to $165. Price I've even seen some $200. Even the mouth isn't too bad of a cutout on there, on the Koraguchi. Okay, so could you turn this into a project sword? Absolutely. I see nothing wrong with the Tsuba whatsoever, so I wouldn't even change that. Everything is tight too. Besides the eater wrap, there's nothing loose on this thing. Okay, have a slight gap right here, but that's typical of these mass-produced swords. But that thing went right through that ice, and it's still sharp. No edge roll, no damage, no chipping. So, would I give this an A for a pass? No. Okay. Because of the eater wrap being as loose as it is, and the kosher on the back being loose. Okay. Mind you, it isn't real Samiga. I will overlook that as long as the eater wrap is good. And it's not on this. The silk, the imitation silk, does feel good. It feels nice. It does have a nice transition, you know, but they didn't do a good job. Could I glue this? Yeah. This is how you know it's a loose eater wrap, because it does wrap around the kosher. It does wrap around it. But if you don't get it tight enough, they're going to be loose. And that's why I like when it's a good eater wrap and it goes around the kosher, it keeps it nice and solid. So, if anything I would do, I would change the handle on this. Or send it out to somebody to have the eater wrap redone. Or if I knew how to do it, because it's one thing I haven't learned how to do, is do eater wrap yet. But other than that, this thing handled really well. It really did. Even with that point of balance, that being 5.5, I like it more down there. In fact, this seems like it's got more of a sorry on it than typically. I did not get a measurement on that, so let me come back and I'll let you know what the sorry is. Okay, so the sorry on this thing actually has a nice sorry. It's a 7/8 sorry on this thing. Typically you get anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 3/4. So this is just an 1/8 inch under having a 1-inch sorry. That's pretty good. That really, really is. And like I said, this thing is still straight after cutting that block of ice. You know, and like I said, it was about that big around. Okay. So it held up to that. So they made the blade pretty damn well. It's just the handle. So I can't give this thing an A, but for $60, okay, you can't beat that. Even if you get a handle, 20, let's say you spend $20, $25, okay, you only spent $85 on this sword. Seriously, so I may just use this as a beater sword until this eater wrap goes. So for somebody who's looking, like I said, granted it says $10.95. I don't know that for 100% sure, so put in the comments if you want me to cut a section of the cargo off and send it in and have it tested, I will. Okay? But for a beginner, I will say right now for a beginner, if you want a $10.95 blade, granted it's not differentially hardened, this might be a winner. Granted, the Ito wrap on the handle does suck, but I don't know if you can hear that. It handled really good out there, and the edge retention, the edge on it, it went through those like it was butter. In fact, it didn't give me much resistance on the ice. So, is it worth it? If you're on a fixed budget and you can't afford to spend over $100, but you can hit the 60 mark, I would say this would be a winner then. For somebody on a really, really tight budget who wants to get into swords, there you go. Just be mindful. I'm going to say it again because it always disappoints me when E-wrap is this loose. The wrapping is not going to last you long, especially that kasha. Now you can glue this kasha, okay? You can do that. A little glue will fix it. But other than that, there is nothing wrong with this thing. So, put your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you would like me to cut a section off and send it in and have it tested in a lab. And we will see you on the next one and possibly a live tomorrow night. And I get more of your thoughts tomorrow night. So I'll see you guys around. Take it easy.